Before I start shooting with my new Canon EOS R7, I need to get the firmware up to date. I'm using the 3.9mm dual fisheye lens, and that's going to require version 1.5.0 of the firmware in order to operate with this camera. If you're using the 7.8mm dual lens for spatial video, that one's going to need 1.6.0. Either way, this process is exactly the same. The first thing you're going to need is an SD card. Now, whatever SD card will work with your camera is going to be fine for this process. You're going to want to insert this card into a reader connected to your computer. Second thing you want to do, head over to usa.canon.com. Now, I'll put a link down in the description below straight to the firmware for the R7, but in case you want to follow along and get it yourself, here's how you do it. The first thing you're going to want to do is head over to usa.canon.com. You're going to click on Support. You're going to scroll down, click on Cameras. Next, you're going to see EOS Digital Cameras. Click on that. If you don't see the R7 listed, click on this Load More button and then scroll down until you do see it. Click on the R7. Now that you're on the product support page for that camera, you'll see software and drivers listed here. If you'll go ahead and scroll down, you'll pick your OS version. I'm going to pick Windows 11 because I'm on a Windows machine and that version is the correct version for me. Next, if you scroll down, you'll see the available downloads. Now, I want version 1.6.0 because that's the latest one. And here you'll see there's an I agree box that you need to check in order for the download button to become active. Once you click on download, the firmware will begin downloading and should finish relatively quickly. It's not a very large file. The third thing you're going to do now that you've got that file downloaded is extract it to a folder on your computer. Now, once you have that file extracted, you're going to look for the firmware file itself and copy that to the root directory of the SD card in your reader. You don't want to put this in any subfolders. Make sure you put it in the root folder so your camera can see it. Now, once you've done that, the fourth thing that you're going to do is put that card into your camera. Go ahead and make sure the mode dial is on the P mode and then power on your camera. It's a really good idea to make sure you've got a fully charged battery before you begin this process so you don't run into any issues, because it can get finicky if you run out of power. Could brick your camera, so definitely don't recommend doing this with a partially charged battery. Now, the fifth thing you need to do is go ahead and navigate over in the menu to the wrench menu, and once you've gotten there, go to page 6 and then go all the way to the bottom for the firmware version. Now, once you click the center dial button and select the firmware version, you should see both the camera body version as well as the lens version of firmware. Now, once you click this, it's going to ask you to confirm that you want to replace the firmware version. You're going to click yes, and you could update the lens version the same way here if you wanted to do that. I'm just doing the camera body today because my lens has the latest firmware version, so I don't need to do that. Now it's going to ask you to click OK to do the install, and you're going to wait. This may take a few minutes. Now, once it's done installing, you're going to go ahead and reboot the camera. And that's it. It's really that simple. So anyway, I appreciate you watching the video. Hope to see you next time. Later.